that it would be really a compliment to Dr. Felipe Calvo, because I will speak about the tools, accelerator, what we do, and okay, and I will follow what you said, developing new technologies to treat better the patient and especially the children. Okay, then was introduced. I think I will speak about Hadron Therapy Accelerator, what is the present and future. I will have a small history, but Manuel did already my introduction about Wilson in Fermilab, but I will be shorter than. Okay, then, and I will speak about also CERN initiative, what we are doing, not alone, but with all this collaborative laboratory we are working. For that, I will spend 2 slides to introduce CERN, and after that, because I will use later in my presentation, then CERN is an international organization founded in 1954, initially with 12 European states, and now 23 member states. We have all the list of member states, and in few number, we are almost 2,700 staff serving with on the payroll 1,800 postdoc fellows, technical students, and serving a large community of users, scientific users, above 14,000 users, and all for a budget, to constant budget, to 1.2 billion of Swiss francs, more or less 1.1 billion of euro. This is a constant budget. We are financing all our projects on this constant budget. What is the mission of CERN? I think 4 missions. As I said, there is the 4 legs of a chair. We cannot remove one without losing the stability. What is very well known is to push back the frontier of knowledge. It's fundamental research to understand what is elementary particles, the force, and so on. To do that, what we have to develop is develop new technology for accelerator, computer, and detectors. And today I will speak mainly about accelerators. And our main work and our mission is to develop that for fundamental research, for the big accelerator. But after that, we are doing technology transfer, and one of the big technology transfer in the medical application. To do physics, to do technology, you need the main ingredient is persons, and we are training scientists and engineers of today and tomorrow, and we'll say technician. I think is also a big part of people working with CERN, passing through CERN, after that going back to institute and also to industry. And last but not least, unite people from different countries and culture. Is the DNA of CERN, is really to put everybody together and to work together for one project or several projects. Okay, saying that, knowledge transfer is a very important ingredient of things, and we are really looking what it is in our development, CERN innovation. We can transfer, it can have an impact on the society, and main thing is, as I said, quality of life, health, medical application, but now more and more in the domain of energy, we are developing technology for accelerators that we are transferring towards the society. One thing we're very clear I should have, because I think once again I want to repair because it's part of our convention that we are working for basic research, but we also mandate is to transfer. Then in the domain of, for example, medical application, we are not doing medical application per se. A lot of people are coming to see us, why you cannot develop a special instrument and so on. No, we cannot do that. We can transfer technology, we transfer to industry, to transfer to institute, and after that they are doing the things. And for that, I think it's very important of the things. And this is the organization, it was mentioned by José Manuel, but we have now at CERN a committee, a steering committee, defining what we have to do, what we have to not to do, up to when we can do. I have the privilege to chair this steering committee, and also we have some external bodies as CERN Medical Application Advisory Committee, with a body with doctors giving advice to us, and also we have a forum, a knowledge transfer forum with all the member states to avoid, and I think the things of CERN, never do what is done in national labs or in industry. Never compete with that. We have to be unique things and to transfer these things. Okay, this was my introduction. I think this was already mentioned quickly by Felipe Calvo. I think Hadron Therapy Center, this is some number in 2017. Things are going very fast. You can see it was 60 proton center in the world and 10 carbon center. And you can see, I will look at in Europe, it was a big change from 2002. You can see what we have this red dot and the blue dot, but it is a proton and carbon. And already in 15, you can see more and more things increasing. And now I think the domain and the number of centers having especially proton therapy is increasing, and carbon is following with a slower pace. I think this is a particle therapy. I think in Europe now, really there is a momentum, especially treatment with proton, and now more and more treatment with proton is becoming industrial. We have industrial solution. We'll come back to that. And I think you can see that. And I was looking that suddenly you have this big part of south of Europe without any pins. But now you know they have 2 new centers in Madrid, and I know very well, but I'm close to Portugal. One is the decision of the Minister of Portugal to start a center, and I can see, fortunately, the south of Europe will get also some center for that. And I can see on this slide that in 2022, there's an expectation to have around 120 centers around the world and 30 in Europe. This is, was also mentioned by Felipe, a number of treated patients. We can see this is a number, and I can see, I look at the increase from 2011 to 2017. You can see it's at 17, and now it's increasing more, but you can continue the curves. Then you can see what is important, that between 6 years, the treatment by a patient by proton increased by 80%, and the treatment of carbon ion by 120%. And carbon is increasing and so on. And you can see we are nowadays around 200,000 patients, what is nothing in comparison to 50 million of patients by the normal therapy. But it is for dedicated cancer very useful and mandatory. Okay, now I will go to my domain. I'm a man of accelerator. It is an accelerator man. Accelerator, everybody is thinking we are this big accelerator you can see in research or maybe in light source, but we are more than 30,000 accelerators in the worldwide. And this number of accelerators is mainly for industrial application and medical application. The other ones are very low. If you are looking on this pie, you can see then the majority is not working, this laser on the television. The majority is for industrial application, ion implanter, what is more than one third of the things. Industry itself is more than 50% of accelerator. And in medical application, obviously there is in terms of radioisotope production, in terms of diagnostic treatment, X-ray for an electron, this is a big majority. Now you have a large number. And you can see on this number, proton is 0.1%, is very low, but it's increasing. And you can see us, what we are using for fundamental research, is less than 1% of the accelerators. And we are, I think, once again, is fundamental research developing tool to do that and transferring this new technology to the society for application as in industry, as in medical application. If you cut the source at the end, it will not continue for long. Radiation therapy worldwide, this is a number was mentioned, but your normal things. We have around 14,000 in operation worldwide. I think this nowadays is a standard, developing the things, replacing the old cobalt therapy. It's a long time ago. I think, unfortunately, when you look at this in this Africa and so on, you have some, and also in South America, some place where we are missing these basic tools for radiotherapy. And this is linked, okay, we'll come back to that. I think for me this is the most successful accelerator. When you look at this electron LINAC and X-ray or electron things, is something amazing how it is working. These 40,000 things is really a great example of technology transfer from basic science to society. And I think it was described better than I can do. All we can add on this electron LINAC of the accelerator about imaging, PET, and so on. But this is definitely more and more precise than we can do for the normal things. It's a very good tool. What I said initially, when we were approached by the different organizations, looking at this, what is the standard things, there is a lack of this radiotherapy standard in Africa, in South America, in different things. And we were discussing, could we define on normal state of art for conventional radiation therapy, very robust, very simple, low maintenance things that we could develop in a challenging country. And this is things. We had a series of workshops starting in November 2016, and last one was in 19 years Botswana, and to look at how we can with CERN, but also with STFC in UK pushing to that. And there is also, you can see on the list, Varian, several industry. Could we define not to compete and not to put in competition what it is done for things, but for difficult environment when you have no low electricity or some variation when you cannot send a technician and so on, we can develop. And I think I'm really behind that. I think it's a very good thing. We will speak about how to develop large tool for proton and carbon therapy, but also in this domain we have also to try to get apparatus less expensive to diffuse in numerous regions. Accelerator medicine, I will say from the beginning we have accelerator. It was the idea to use accelerator for medical things. Accelerator, we can say the first accelerator was Rolf Wideroy with the first cyclotron you can have in your hand, and after that Lawrence in Berkeley increased this cyclotron, and after that was, as soon as there was some cyclotron, people were thinking to use this machine to do some treatment. This is exactly what is a cyclotron, because we will speak a lot of things cyclotron. This is a very basic, it was at the development at the beginning. I will not go in the technology, but just to understand, I put here the schema of the patent developed by Lawrence in 32 and deposit. And this is a cyclotron where we are injecting the middle of particles. You have a fixed field and it's doing a spiral and you're injecting the things. Then you understand that we have to have an oscillation of the voltage, but you have a number of turns, then you can go to a given energy, and the energy is fixed by the field. It's very difficult to move. It's very good things. If you want to go to very high energy, you have to have enormous magnets to do that. This, for example, I took the old photo of the first accelerator at CERN. It was a synchrocyclotron, but it was a cyclotron. It was built in '56, and you can see on the road going from Meran to Geneva. Nowadays, it's completely changed, but okay. And this was the transport, exceptional transport of this 1D of this cyclotron. It was used for a long time. Looking Maria, he was looking for nuclear physics for a long time. Okay. After that, it was a treatment. People start to have a treatment with neutron. You can see this was the first neutron things. You can see how it was done in terms of protection, toxicity, and so on. You can see with the cyclotron, what's called by Lawrence a truly colossal machine, and so on. It was a treatment of this first Mr. Penny of about neutrons, but very quickly after that, it was always the things. I think Lawrence, when I read this letter, saying that he was using medical application to justify towards a policymaker to get enough money to continue to increase their cyclotron for fundamental research. Then we are always between the two. I think it's a good thing. We need to have support of policymaker, politics, population to develop fundamental research, and it's a good thing. We can transfer the things. But at the time, we had some physicists asking more time for their physics, and Lawrence was giving more for the medicine application. Okay, and as Manuel said, I think for me the start, I think it was Robert Wilson, he was the first DG of Fermilab, and he was really pushing this proton treatment. Then I will pass quickly. The Bragg peak, I think it was presented. I think I like to recall it was a Nobel Prize by the father and the son. It was the two. The father, the two. Lawrence Bragg, the Bragg was a Nobel Prize at the time, and I will not go through, but I think it's really very well that the heavier you have a particle will deposit the energy at the right things when you will rest. And what is very important for me is you can do paintings that say if you want to move and to deposit the energy where you want, you have to change the energy of your beam. And for example, for proton, if you want to move from 25 centimeters to a few centimeters, you will move your energy of your beam from 60 to 200 250 MeV. Then you need to have an apparatus able to move this energy. And already I said that a cyclotron is a fixed energy. You understand what it is not so easy for that. And carbon, it is heavier, but it is better for the treatment, but you need more energy to do that, and you will need accelerator to accelerate carbon from 120 to 430 MeV. And you can see the precision will be very important, because if you want to deposit, to do painting, as you was just showed by the nice video, in all the directions, you need to have a very good accuracy of the control of energy. I will pass, but I think this is all a short history about from Robert Wilson, all the treatment, and I think this was all the country start in Berkeley, in also was also in cyclotron in Lund in Sweden, was also in PSI in Switzerland. Okay, and I think really it starts from the end of the 90s in Europe, and really was a start. I will skip that. And I think this is really a success story, all the proton therapy, but we are looking also, it was mentioned, increasing investment and operation costs, and still a large footprint. And when we have a large center, especially nowadays for carbon, we have the accelerator is so large, and you have to build facility, and you have to bring the patient to the facility. And the dream of an accelerator man as I am is to have a short one, then you can install your accelerator in an existing hospital, and the patient can go directly to the things. Then really, it is our goal now is to define a machine smaller that you can install in an existing hospital. Proton therapy start, as I said, and I think still what is industrial proton therapy is with a cyclotron. You can see, for example, on this drawing, with a cyclotron on the left, a cyclotron with two lines, and what it is a big gantry is a distribution to do around the patient. You don't want to move a patient. Instead, this gantry is 600 tons, but it is better to move 600 tons than to move 100 kilos of the patient. It's not very comfortable for the patient, and also the organs are moving. One day maybe we will have a tracking of the organ, and you could fit the things. I think this is definitely the industrial solution. It is what's called lower cost. It's a cost, but it's a thing. So we have very good vendors on the market. I will not give names, but you can see I put one here, and I will put a second one later. And I think it's more and more developed, and it's really industrial transfer and industrial solution. And I received this slide. I was sent from Coulon Salon, was starting this proton therapy. And I think this is one of the first proton therapy in Spain. I understood that in last December, 26th of December, just after Natal, Christmas, it was the first patient treatment in Spain with a proton therapy. And this is based on a cyclotron from the company IBA, which is a very known company in the cyclotron for medical application. And the last one is this cyclotron Proteus One, which is really an amazing machine. And the standard machine you can install, you can do that. And you can see this in the thing is one cyclotron with one room with a gantry. I think this is the first center starting in Spain. Okay, now could we use cyclotron, this machine, things, for ions, for carbon or things? This is the problem I already mentioned about the cyclotron, that energy, you have to do energy modulation. If you have to do that, you cannot move from the cyclotrons, and you need this energy selection system, but it is a lot to adjust with degrader, with sliding plate, and to do that. Then this is really slow, and also is in terms of activation is not so good, and you do large shielding, and it is not easy with cyclotron to move energy, and this things is not very clean, I will say, for that. Then and also because if you want to increase the things, you will need to have, it will be so gigantesque for carbon, very large cyclotron, or you have to go to superconductivity, and it will be more complexity and things. Then I think I will say today the cyclotron is industrial and is reserved for proton therapy. And now I will go, then when we go to carbon therapy, other things, ion therapy, we will go to large synchrotron. Then quickly, what is a synchrotron? So to say, is a recent thing. It was in things by Mark Oliphant in '53, and it was invented to that. And I will say it's different than the cyclotron because you have a fixed radius for the particles. Then the particle is going in one curve, and you vary the magnetic field and the radio frequency at the same time. Then you inject your particle in your cyclotron, and you increase at unison the magnetic field and the radio frequency, the electrical field, to accelerate the particle and to keep the particle on the circumference. And after that, you can extract the beam for different purposes. One purpose is to do fixed target, what we are doing at CERN and things. One thing is also to do light source, because you can do that, and we can do that in synchrotron with electron, losing electron, and you can have beam lines to do that. ALBA is a good example in Spain, close to Barcelona, of a light source using synchrotron. And also this synchrotron paves the way for collider as LHC. And as here you can see, this is a map of a layout of all the accelerators at CERN, and you can see the first accelerator, proton synchrotron, they were put in operation in '59, still in operation. It will run at least until 2040. That at 60 years you are still in good shape. And all the other accelerators as a SPS, super proton synchrotron, 7 km circumference, LHC itself are synchrotron. That really was a really move for high energy physics to get high energy to go to pass from cyclotron to synchrotron. And synchrotron because the synchronism between the field and the magnetic field and the electrical field. Okay, this is LHC things with 27 km installed 100 meters below the ground level. Okay, and now the second center in proton therapy. I think Professor Calvo is coming from this center in Navarra, but we have now the first Hitachi synchrotron in Europe, and I think it will be an important center. You can see this photo of this synchrotron with the magnet, the bending magnet in red, and all the system for acceleration and things. And this you can see is a proton center with 2 beam lines in 2 countries. I think this will be a good thing. And this is an application, this is a way of the Japanese to use also for proton therapy synchrotron. Okay. Now, ion therapy is definitely with synchrotron. I think it was paved the way. In Europe, we have 2 ways up to now. It was a way with GSI, what it is an institute in Germany close to Frankfurt. It was developing a technology. It was 2 centers based on technology in Heidelberg and in Marburg, but they are doing a dual center with proton and carbon, and CERN with different with Terra and with different things. We develop a new also toolkit, what you call PIMS, I will describe, and leading to also accelerator in Pavia, in Italy, in Vienna, in Austria. And this was exactly what we developed in '95. It was a time that at CERN we look at how to transfer the technology to build a toolkit for the technology we have with a partner, and to have what we call the proton ion medical machine studies, and to develop that. And this toolkit was applied twice. First with, in Italy, as I said, with CNAO, but this is in Pavia, 50 kilometers from Milano, and Medostrom in Neustadt, but it is close to Vienna. And these 2 centers are now treating patients, CNAO from 10 years, and Medostrom from few years, and 2/3 are with carbon and 1/3 with proton. now we are looking at CERN because we did that from 95 to 2000 with the technology. Now after that we are very busy to build LHC, to put LHC in things, so to develop an injector, especially a LINAC with a new technology. We think now we said, okay, if you look at after from 95 to now, it was 2018, 2016, what are the differences? Could we go in other technology? And could we think to a next generation of ion therapy accelerator? Once again, we know that the domain I already mentioned of the proton is with industry, with cyclotron is working well, is effective and so on. Then we said, okay, we will look at what we can do with carbon ion therapy. Once we are not to compete with industry, we want to really to do what we did with CNAO and Medostrom, but more or less is between 150 to 200 million of euro. Could we do something that reducing the cost, initial cost by the factor 3? And operation costs the same way. After that, and also the footprint in terms of our large things to reduce the footprint, exactly as I said, to be able to install in the hospital or close to the hospital. Then this was the thing we launched a few years ago, is to look at a collaborative study. Could we define something more compact, more cost effective, and to look at light ions, initially carbon, maybe we could do helium or other things. And to do that, I think the best thing is we start with a workshop in 2018. I think you were here, José Manuel, close to CERN. We call all the experts from the world and said, okay, put in the room and try to define the requirement for the particle therapy community, define what we are. I think coming from the doctor is the same requirements. They want to have to deposit the energy of proton carbon with this energy. The body is not changing. You want to go to that. Then we have to do an accelerator up to 430 MeV for the proton. The precision is more the same. Then how we can do better now than before. And this is exactly what we want, that now the challenge is to divide the cost by factor 3 compared to the present. I think I put 120 to 150, this is official, but it's more 150 to 200 millions. And also how we can increase the intensity, maybe to deposit more energy and to have less session and to have more in a few sessions. How to reduce, I already said, the footprint to do that, and obviously also operation costs, all the running costs, how to do that. And this is the accelerator to have the beam, but also the delivery. And I think this is very important about the gantry. You saw the side of the gantry when you want to move the beam around the patient. Could we reduce really the size and to do have the new technology, and also all about calibration, about the time to set the things. And this we look at, and now after several months of reflection, we are saying that we have two ways that we want to continue. To start with first LINAC, injection LINAC up to 10 MeV, and after that two solutions, to have a synchrotron, circular things, but instead of normal magnet, warm magnet, to do with superconducting magnets, then to reduce the footprint and to have less consumption. You have to cool down with cryogenics, but less consumption. Or to do with the LINAC to continue, and LINAC you could do completely like that, or you can have a full LINAC, and for that is to reduce the footprint. And after that, all the delivery. Then we are now with our partners looking all the things, and we expect to have an intermediate report for the summer, and after that maybe to choose, do we have one better than the other, what is in terms of risk, in terms of cost, in terms of things, and we will look at if we are going more in a synchrotron with superconducting magnets, or we are going to this full LINAC solution. Okay, this is in terms of option. I said this is a superconducting synchrotron. I will not go into the detail, but I think I like the schema you can see here. It's difficult to do that, but this is a footprint for Medostrom now, and you can see the footprint we want to do. That is really reducing by a factor 3 or maybe a factor 4 the footprint. It's very important because it's the size, but as soon as it's also the building, the cost of electricity, the cost of cooling, is already all the cost is reducing with the size and the volume of the accelerator. And this is once again the LINAC. We are looking that we could be 53 meters. Then for me, I like the LINAC because it could be in a corridor, on a hospital, underground, and so on, something like that. Okay. And we are looking also about the gantry. Could we use superconductivity for gantry, that a mobile gantry, or with toroid? I will come back to that with new patent from the group leader of magnet at CERN. Okay, this is, as I said, we are really now, after studying LINAC as an injector for LHC, we put in operation. Could we use a full LINAC? And I think this is a very good example. It's simpler to move the energy. It's really very fast to do painting of the things. And also we could have a very small emittance cross-section of the beam. And this all was due to the development of what we call RFQ is a different thing, but it's as the same thing, a piece of material where we are doing the radio frequency, electrical field, and focusing the beam. And this was a development done at CERN for the LINAC we install on the chain for the LHC, and we increase the frequency, we reduce the size, and now we are using for different things, medical application. Also in cultural heritage to have analysis of painting and so on for different applications. I think it's very good to have a small LINAC for different applications. Okay, then I want to say that now also for this first part, the front end, we will need, in any case, up to 10 EV. We start a collaboration with Spanish partner, especially with the CIEMAT, leading with CIEMAT about that, and how to define with all the things I mentioned, the source, but also the RFQ done at CERN and all the development. Could we look at a very challenging LINAC? For the front end, we will need independent, we need superconducting synchrotron or the LINAC and so on. And I think now you are setting a consortium with institute and with industry to look at these kind of things, and we will work in synergy with all the projects in this direction. Then this is all the development. I have no time to describe the things, but it has to be done about the source, extraction of the ions, and all the things. And I think it will be an installation, is the first thing in collaboration with the CIEMAT and all this industry partner in Spain to define these kind of things and could be installed. And this will be a very nice thing as a first step for this next generation of ion accelerator. This is, for example, this what I like, that Gatoroid is a new concept of gantry, where you have not to move the gantry, but you move the beam. You can see in red the beam. When you with the different powering of different coils, according to the coil, the beam will move. Then I think this is in principle. Now we have to build a prototype to look at if it's working. If it is like that, first on paper, looking this estimate mass for proton will be 12 tons, and for carbon therapy will be still 50 tons. But we have not to forget, for time being, for carbon therapy is 600 tons. You can see this gantry with the two people down, and you have to go around the patient. The patient is in the middle and so on. And this is a huge thing when you have to move a beam at 430 MeV. Then definitely this working will be good, or if you are using superconductivity, reducing the size and the weight of the gantry. Okay, I want to say that we are doing that in full collaboration. Once again, CERN is not doing medical application. We want to collaborate. We want to lead several things about accelerator, but we don't want to do that. And one collaboration we have with a potential project in the Balkans countries. It was launched on that, and it was to build an hadron therapy. And now we are looking at that, and it is supported by the EU. And now we have a first call, and we hope to have a second successful call. And we are working with that. And I think it will be a good thing that we have defining a toolkit as we define for the proton therapy, for ion therapy, defining a toolkit, and as an implementation to have a new center in the region where all these countries are not always in romantic relationships, and working together in a project will be a very good example of science for peace and development. Okay, I will conclude. I can see Jose Manuel looking by the time. Okay, I can see that a medical accelerator, it was really something pushing the things, and now more and more with development in accelerator, but not only that, in detector and computing, is definitely the future technology driver. I think there are in front of us a lot of exciting development. I think for me, proton therapy, as I said, is developing large progress. The industry are working on that, and now we have turnkey facility. You can see in your hospital and also in Quirino Hospital. I think this are improving. But I think now what we want to do, and yes, for me, I want to see that because I was expecting you maybe spoke about that. This was first in the world, like now in December, a treatment of ventricular arrhythmia with a proton beam. I think this could be also an application of a proton therapy or ion therapy to treat some arrhythmia. You can see it's not only cancer. I think it was I was just over there after that. It seems the patient was a lot of treatment didn't succeed, and with one session with a proton therapy solved his problem. Okay, I'm passing. I'll let you to comment. Oh my God. Then now I think what we have now is to look at, and what we want to do with CERN Institute, our historical partner, is to look at what is could be the future in ion therapy. And I will repeat what I said, really reduce the cost and the footprint of these things and operation costs. I think we will need also for the domain, I think you said also that, to collect more data for biomedical research with different type of ions, and this we have to do tests on tissue, on animals, and so that. And for that, I think we are fighting to have dedicated research beamline, because as soon as the center have a proton therapy or carbon therapy, they want to treat patients, but it's normal. But we have to find some places where we can have a dedicated research thing to look at the effectiveness and different tests. And one is one of important point of this project in Balkans countries, that they will dedicate more than 50% of the time of all the beamline for research. I think also we have to look at things, we spoke about carbon, helium, and so on, is very important. Okay, I want to thank you. I will finish with two quotes I like, that there is no applied science if there is no science to apply. Then as I defend fundamental research towards application. And I think our sentence of Paul Valéry, the task of mine is to produce future. Muchas gracias por la atención.